Formula One. It's one of the few sports where men and women can compete alongside each other on an equal footing. Yet to date, only 2 women have ever raced in a Grand Prix. But that's not stopping the current generation.
I'm disabled, I'm a female, I go out and I compete against able-bodied men.
When you want something and you work hard for it, you can do anything.
I really am convinced that things are changing and that we see more women involved.
Women in Formula One are
Determined.
Dynamic.
Tenacious.
Passionate. Fighters.
Women in Formula One might be a minority at the moment, but they're a growing one. And there's a number of female fighters across motorsport hoping to make a difference. Welcome to this special edition of The Circuit. It's been 3 years since we last did a special on women in Formula One. And in terms of the driver issue, in that quest to get a female lining up on the Formula One grid at a race weekend, it's as you were really, but there does seem to have been a real shift in attitudes across the board. F1 have got rid of grid girls, and just as we've seen in Hollywood in recent times and at the World Cup in Russia earlier this year, the issue of women, equality, empowerment and opportunity has really been thrust into the spotlight. There's more of an awareness, a desire to get it right for the right reasons. I'm not saying all the barriers have gone, they haven't, but hopefully, as you'll see in the coming programme, there are plenty of reasons to be positive. The history of women in Formula One may be a short one, but since the birth of the World Championship, some names have become legendary.
The women had raced at Le Mans in the 24-hour race since the 1920s, but there were no women in the Pucker Formula One World Championship until Maria Teresa came along in 1958. She was a bit of a surprise to most people, I think. Her best performance came at Spa, the Belgian Grand Prix, on a very, very fast and demanding circuit. She did well enough to finish 10th. She was lapped a couple of times, but even completing a race on a circuit like that in those days was an achievement. It took nearly 20 years after Maria Teresa for Lella Lombardi to come along and be the first woman to finish in a point-scoring position in a Grand Prix.
Lella Lombardi was hugely underrated. She didn't really have too many career highlights, but she did score half a point in Spain in 1975 in a race that only went half distance. If she'd had the right equipment in Formula One, I think she was a lot tougher than people thought she was.
Susie Wolff has shown, before arriving to Formula One, she had a great career and she was a very good driver. So, of course, slowly she reached the top and she finally worked with William as a test driver.
She's quick, she's feisty. I'm a big fan of Susie. She did a good job, never let herself down.
Now she has a big opportunity to become team principal for Venturi. I'm sure with the experience she has, she will be very good.
Manisha Colton-Bourne, of course, and Claire Williams have been female team bosses.
Monisha Colton-Bourne has done a very good job. It's difficult for everyone, so you need opportunity.
I'm a big fan of Claire's because she's her father's daughter and her mother's daughter and has this huge amount of passion.
Claire Williams is working, at team principal, and she's also a strong woman, and I wish a lot of success because it's not an easy sport. We have been working very hard to support, to promote and to encourage more women to participate, to try to detect new talent. With my experience, it was an opportunity to put me the foot in this sport. I think we should work more for women to get more opportunity to have same car as the men and the chance to compete, because there is no reason. I am not, somebody special. I have just been fighting very hard, and I was very motivated. And I think a lot of women are the same.
A decade ago, Chloe Target-Adams joined the Formula One team as an in-house lawyer. Today, she's climbed the ranks and is Global Director for Commercial Relations. One of your jobs is promoting Formula One around the world. How important is it for the sport to be seen to be embracing women?
We're in 21 markets currently. We have 21 races and we're broadcast in over 200 countries. So we're a global sport, and to really engage with those markets successfully, we need to appeal to both men and women. You know, we have 503 million fans globally, 38% of which are women. We need to represent the diverse kind of fan base that we have. And so when we look at new race opportunities and we take a very strategic look, what are they really going to engage with Formula One? You know, is it the excitement on track? What about the excitement off track? You know, what about the new lifestyle initiatives, the hospitality, the F1 experiences, the travel, the tourism aspect that there is to Formula One?
Has enough been done to promote the number of women across the board doing all the different jobs that they do in Formula One? A lot of people see the drivers on the grid and the team principals, and that's it really.
There are a lot of talented women in Formula One currently across, you know, many different functions, from within the teams, from the engineering side to, you know, our business, from the TV side, the production, the commercial, the business administration, the legal, the finance. And I think it's actually about how collectively as women, and also, you know, with men, you need strong male advocates, obviously, to push everyone forward if you're talented. You know, we want equal representation within sport, because that's really, you know, how society functions, and that will make sport, you know, more successful and business more successful in the long term.
What's the most important factor for reaching gender equality in the Formula One community moving forward, in your opinion?
I think it is about open-mindedness and actually the need to create more opportunity within that pipeline at that earlier stage.
Women may be occupying more senior leadership roles within Formula One, but will we see a female driver anytime soon? Tatiana Calderon could be the answer. It's been over 40 years since a woman competed in a Formula One race, but as we look at the landscape of women in motorsports, there is hope and a lot of excitement about Colombia's Tatiana Calderon. She currently competes in GP3 and this year entered Formula One as a test driver for Alfa Romeo Sauber. Can she be the one?
Calderon having the race of her life.
I love the feeling of being behind the wheel because you're in charge.
Tatiana Calderon is under attack.
Even if you have a whole team monitoring everything that you're doing while you're doing it, it's like that freedom of, okay, I am in charge. I can make the car do what I want is what I love most. Also the adrenaline and the competitive spirit is what really makes me fall in love with the sport even more. I grew up in Colombia. I've always been a sports lover, but I started karting when I was 9 years old because my sister took me to a rental go-kart track near our house, and we bought a 5-minute ticket, but we fell in love with it, so we were going there every day after school. Since then, I mean, I had it very clear I wanted to reach Formula One, also because Juan Pablo Montoya was there, but yeah, I think that dream I've always had since the beginning. 7 years ago, I moved to Madrid to pursue that dream alone, and now I'm racing in GP3. I'm a test driver for Alfa Romeo Sauber F1 team. I think that just shows that when you want something and you work hard for it, you can do anything. As a test driver for Alfa Romeo Sauber, my job is to do some simulator work with the team, so when they have to try new parts or the development of the new car, for example, we do that work in the simulator. I also travel to most of the races with them to attend all the engineering briefings and to know what they expect from a driver. When I was asked to join the team, to join a Formula One team was definitely a very special day. I mean, I didn't know if I was actually dreaming or if it was happening, because my whole life I've been preparing for that moment to get that opportunity. It's amazing. There hasn't been that many girls, but also guys who can reach Formula One. So it was a very proud moment, and of course I enjoyed it, but I also knew I had to push all the limits to make it count. You mostly work with guys around in the team, with engineers, even though there's more women joining in engineering as well. But you have to change the perception that you cannot compete, that they always expect a bit less from a girl, and they should listen to what we have to say. So that has been the barriers that we have to take over, and I think we are slowly but surely getting to the point where they just treat you like another driver, but you have to earn that respect, and that just takes a bit more time than with the guys. Once you are on the track, of course, you race against boys that are between 18 and 26 in the lower categories, and of course nobody wants to be beaten by a girl or by anybody, but especially by the only girl in the championship. So sometimes I have had to crash, so they always expect you to brake earlier, to let them go through, just because you're a girl. So sometimes to prove that you're not gonna give up, that it's your position and you will fight until the end like they do.
Calderon fends off the Swede coming into Lecombe.
I had to earn that respect to move forward. Of course, you always wanna do it just by the stopwatch, but in these cases you have to go the hard way, and I think that just makes you grow even more as a driver and be prepared for everything. Formula One and motorsport in general, people don't realize that it's such a demanding sport physically. So, of course, as a woman, we have 30% less lean muscle than men, and we need to compensate that with strength training, with extra hours, and it has been really, really difficult for me to get to that level, because in the lower categories like GP3 or Formula 2, you don't have power steering, and you do have it in Formula 1. On the contrary, in GP3 and Formula 2, the G-forces are a bit less, so your neck doesn't suffer as much, and your lower back also doesn't suffer as much. So this year, for example, I have had to work for 2 different ways. So to be prepared for GP3, because it's what I'm racing, and with Formula 1, so my neck has grown 9 centimeters. My upper body as well is quite big, because it's what I need in order to turn the wheel in a GP3 car. I think determination is the key to succeed, really, because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't work hard and you don't go through the barriers or through the process of defeat, you will never rise. And I think I am a very determined person, and I don't let anybody stop me. I always want to be better. I truly believe that I can be the next female in Formula 1. That's why I work really hard every day, and I wouldn't be in this position if I thought it was not possible.
When we talk of progress for women in Saudi Arabia, the notion of competing in motorsports was an impossible dream until this year, when it finally became legal for them to drive.
I need to continue and do something for the generation and for the country, or let's say also for women in motorsport in the world.
The 24th of June 2018. It was a date that not only marked the return of the French Grand Prix after a 10-year-long absence, but also the day Saudi Arabia lifted its ban on women driving. To celebrate, Aseel AlHamad, the first female member of the Saudi Arabian Motorsport Federation, drove Renault's 2012 Formula One car around Paul Ricard. Just weeks later, she sat in the driver's seat once more.
Do you still get excited when you sit behind the wheel? Of course. It's a beautiful feeling, the driver's seat.
Was there ever a point growing up when you thought it was never going to happen in Saudi Arabia?
No, I always knew it was going to happen. I was just waiting for the time.
Presumably you have some friends who had never driven at all.
Yes.
Are they enjoying it, or is it frightening?
I think it's normal that we have fears from everything that is new.
So in a society where women weren't allowed to drive, how did you become a fan of motorsport?
Yes, I remember playing with car toys. I used to prefer to play with car toys and Legos and being involved in sport activities more than doing the normal games that used to be surrounding me. I started watching car models, and then I realized that something called mechanical engineering and the effect on the car and the speed. Growing up in Saudi and not driving, for me as a motorsport fanatic, it made it like, let's say, a bit of a distant. Because I really love cars, and especially sport cars.
So how did it come about that you got your role with the Saudi Arabian Motorsport Federation?
Because of my past experience and activities, they noticed me and they noticed my passion and how I'm serious about it. So they approached me asking me to have a seat and become a member with them at the Saudi Arabian Motor Federation. And I'm so really honored to be part of that. My role is exactly like the other board of directors. It's only that because I'm a woman, I have a mission to carry the voice of women and make sure that I can develop the foundation for the women motorsport in Saudi Arabia.
And how much do you think the allowing women to get driving licenses will impact directly on the interest in motorsport?
Of course, because it's like a ladder. You start from step one, then you develop the skills.
What is your view of women in motorsport internationally? Are women hard done by, or actually has progress been made, do you think, in recent years?
Yes, there has been some progress, but it's true. By the society, people are seeing it more of a male-dominant environment. We believe that women are capable to compete equally with men.
So what was it like as somebody who'd grown up watching motorsport, being able to drive a Formula One car on a Formula One race weekend?
That's a good question. It felt amazing that I'm representing my country and women of my country by celebrating the first activation driving day with this beautiful car. I wanted to send to the world that nothing is impossible and Saudi women are capable to do everything.
From one woman proving what is possible to another, Natalie McGloin has never let her own personal challenges hold her back.
When I was 16, I was involved in a road traffic accident where I broke my neck at C67. That resulted in a complete paralysis from the chest down, which means I'm a full-time wheelchair user. When what you're choosing to do with your life is challenged and people say, potentially that's not possible, I think I always remember why I start doing something. The passion that drove me to start something is always the passion that drives me to continue it. I got into motorsport because a friend had bought a similar car to me and told me that his car was faster than mine, and he introduced me to track days. We went on a track day together and that kind of got me hooked. I love racing because I love the fact that nothing else matters about the person who is driving the car other than where they finish over the finish line when the flag is dropped. Gender, disability, race, religion, none of it matters. All that matters is your skill and your driving capacity. It's one of the only sports that offers that. The reason for the lack of visibility of females in F1 is definitely because there aren't enough girls at kind of the grassroots of motorsport being involved. It's a vicious cycle. They don't see women in motorsport as much as they could do, so they don't want to aspire to being involved in that way. Dare to be Different was set up in 2016 to promote and encourage more females within motorsport. The organisation gets right to grassroots levels. We see girls coming in and just having a go at stuff that is really enjoyable in motorsport, so karting and the light test that F1 drivers do. We've got presenting roles for them. I go and show them my race car. We're just trying to create a bit of enthusiasm with young girls that motorsport is cool, motorsport is fun, and motorsport is something that they're going to want to do.
To be successful in this sport, you need to be talented. Your gender is actually irrelevant. It's possible to be successful if you're good at what you do. So we simply need to get more entering the sport, create great role models from the women who are there already, but maybe not so visible. And that's why I founded Dare to be Different, which is my initiative and charity to inspire the next generation, to make sure that we can create great role models out of the women who are in this sport and who are successful. And let's get more women entering the sport, because then we've got a better chance of the best rising to the top.
I hope to inspire the girls into thinking that motorsport is for them, just by simply showing them that in racing anything's possible. You know, I'm disabled, I'm a female, I go out and I compete against able-bodied men.
As the spotlight shines even brighter on gender inequality, there's significant public appetite for change. With more and more women paving the way in Formula One, it's the younger generation who must follow their lead. Where we did have Susie Wolff flying the flag on her own in her role at Williams, that baton has now been passed to Colombia's Tatiana Calderon as test driver at Sauber. These are women who have broken down the barriers without seeing the barriers in the first place.
I feel positive,
Empowered.
Energized.
Confident.
I feel optimistic.